Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Post. Our next guest is an expert in B2B social media and data-driven strategy. She has led social at brands like Salesforce and 6sense, where she's blended storytelling with analytics to build campaigns that drive real business results. From employee advocacy to community engagement, she knows how to turn social into a strategic growth engine. She's got a sharp eye for content, a deep understanding of what makes social work in B2B, and a real passion for turning followers into thriving communities. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce you to our next guest. Please join me in welcoming Vanya Degenhardt to the show. Vanya, are you ready to go behind the post with me?
Hey, Alina, let's do it.
Amazing. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm so excited for the energy I know you're going to bring. So to start off, before we jump into everything, please can you introduce yourself and walk us through your background in marketing?
Sure. So like you mentioned, I've worked for brands like Salesforce and 6sense. 6sense was my most recent role where I led the social media function. So I was the lead strategist, content creator, analyst, community manager, managing the advocacy program, the whole gambit. And at Salesforce, I was running the Salesforce career social media channels. There I was representing Salesforce's employer brand, and letting the world know that Salesforce is a great place to work. And I was the channel manager there and running the strategy to engage all of the 4.5 million followers across channels at the time. It's grown since then because the team has been killing it. But yeah, before that, I worked for really small companies where I was, one of two members of the marketing team. And so I was doing social there as well, but wearing a lot of hats, learning how to be scrappy. And that really gave me a foundation for how social media works with the rest of the digital marketing and content marketing strategy. So that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing. You in a nutshell. I feel like you name it, you've done it. Like you've really done a lot. That's why it's so nice to have you here. So this episode, we're going to dive into the content creation process for social media and how to craft content that really resonates with an audience. So when you sit down to create content, where does your thought process begin?
It really starts with, what does our audience want? Because at the end of the day, it's all about the audience and their experience and what brings value to them, right? We have goals that we want to hit, we have business priorities, but none of that matters if that's not going to resonate with our audience. So it's all about what are they talking about? What are they thinking about? And really tapping into those conversations and priorities that they have in order to create a thriving community.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Your audience is the heart of it. Like everything
Exactly.
you should have the audience in mind. So the next question I have for you is, I know obviously when you're creating content, there are many different personas. So how many different personas are you creating content for? And how do you structure the social media calendar to make sure each one is getting the right messaging and you're getting to each one of them?
Yeah, that's a great question. At 6sense, it's a revenue intelligence platform, and so there's so many different personas that I needed to connect with. So on one hand, there were leaders who were the decision makers. There were users, and within that, there's folks in marketing or sales or business development reps. And so really thinking about what are their priorities and how do they engage with content as well. So, for example, a marketing leader might be thinking more like high level strategy, thinking like 3 to 6 to 12 months down the line and how they can hit those long term goals and plan ahead. Whereas, an account executive, a seller, or a BDR is really focused on hitting their quota and they need something that they can use immediately. And so keeping the content for them like short and snappy and tailored for them is really important. And regardless of who you're trying to reach out to, really thinking about, what I said earlier about what's top of mind for them, and then shaping your content format around that.
So let's talk examples. I love doing this. I love getting into tactics and what you've done, and I know our audience love it too. Could you share an example of content or a campaign that you've run for one of these personas or any personas in somewhere you've worked before? What was the process like, and how did you ensure that it really connected with them?
Yeah, one of my favorite campaigns of all time, it makes me smile every time I think about it, is the Oscars campaign that I ran at Salesforce. And, it's themed for the Oscars, like the Academy Awards, but it's Oscars because it's about pets. And so the goal of this campaign was to, one, tie into something timely that was going on. It was to engage the current employees at Salesforce and kind of make them aware of the Salesforce career social channels. And then also to expand our audience and awareness through a really fun and engaging campaign. So, what I did was I opened up submissions to employees to share photos of their pets either in costume or with a fun background or photoshopped, because not all pets like to be dressed up. And so it's kind of leaving it open-ended. And then we had a tournament style contest on our Instagram stories over the course of a week, where we started with having like 16, and then the next day was 8 and 4, and then we had our finalists. And I did that for 2 years, and it was one of our most engaging campaigns to date. It was a really fun moment of surprise and delight, and a lot of employees got involved, and so we really increased our following internally. But with that campaign, I was also reaching a lot of new users or people who hadn't been following us before. And so it was a great way to have some fun while increasing brand awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just proves B2B can be fun. Like that's such a fun campaign. I would then go follow a company that's doing it because I want to see it. It's funny, it's cute. And it's also nice because it engages your own company and you need your own company to be active for you on social as well. So I
Exactly.
love that idea. I wish I had a dog to dress up and send you a photo of. It's amazing. Idea. So the next question I have for you is using this campaign example, or any campaign you've run in the past. What were your biggest takeaways? What did you learn, and how did it shape your approach moving forward?
Yeah, one of the things that I kind of thought about before, but what that campaign, the Posters campaign, really taught me, as well as other employee-centered campaigns, is how excited that audience can be. And sometimes we forget, like we're so centered on customers and prospects that we don't think about our employees, even though often that's our most engaged audience, both internally and on social. And so, really tapping into that audience or our employees to be advocates for us, or finding content that really resonates with them. Because when they engage, we can also tap into their networks. And it's a great way of expanding our reach into people who may not know us, or maybe who are slightly familiar with us but don't follow us yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it's my favorite part with doing these campaigns because obviously as a marketer, things are going to come up and there's always something to learn from them and something you can take to the next campaign, albeit if it's something like you said, like employee centric, or if it's any other goal, there's always something you can learn from them. So now that we've talked about the audience, there's also the user experience piece as well to this puzzle of everything that we're talking about. So how people actually engage with content on different platforms is also a big part. How do you factor that in when you're creating content?
Yes, I think as social media practitioners, we like to sweat the small stuff, right? Like, how is this Instagram carousel going to show up in a feed, or how are these like multiple images on LinkedIn going to show up, right? We always want to like make it look the best. We don't want to be cutting off random things, and I think that's such an underrated skill of like how is it going to show up in the feed. Um, but then the platforms change and pull the rug out from under us, right? And then we have to get used
Love
to it
that.
again and figure that all out. So it keeps it fun, keeps us on our toes. But really it's about on each of the platforms that we're creating content for, creating our strategies for, how do people engage, or how do people use that platform? What is their mindset when they're logged into that or scrolling on that app? And one example is with LinkedIn, people are often on there during work, or if they're on there with the intention to learn or connect with their peers or people in their industry or with their customers. On Instagram, it's usually not thinking about work unless you're weird like us, social media practitioners, right? We're always thinking about work on social.
Always.
But most but most people are just looking to be entertained or looking for something unexpected. And so with that, thinking about the content that you're creating, if you're going in onto Instagram and talking about something that's like super like work focused, it's maybe not going to resonate as much because they're not in that mindset on Instagram. But if you put that content on LinkedIn, for example, it would likely do better. And even on LinkedIn, I think finding that balance of being educational or creating value, but also being respectful of their time, keeping it snappy, keeping it actionable so that it's actually useful to them right away. And then also, thinking about, like we said before, like what's useful to them. What are they thinking about?
Something that can help them, something they can learn from. Something where for me, it's also, I don't want to dig for more information. I want to see the information in front of me, which kind of
Yes.
leads me to the next thing I want to ask you. I don't think I can let you go without asking you this. Where do you stand? Links in the comments or links in the post?
Oh, okay. I feel pretty strongly about this.
Okay, let's
I
hear
maybe this is a hot take.
it.
I think with LinkedIn prioritizing on content platform or keeping users on the platform rather than clicking away, I totally understand why um, people like users or companies will put the links in the comments. However, I think it really comes down to like what is the goal of this post, right? Is it to get people to sign up for your webinar? Is it to get them to register for something else? Or is the link more like bonus content, right? So if the post has some interesting statistics, let's say, or the I think all posts on LinkedIn should stand on their own, right? And like someone shouldn't have to like click to something else to get value from it. But with links, especially, it's like if it's kind of like bonus content, right? You want to entice them to read more, but like they don't have to. Then that link can go in the comments. But if you want them to click and register for whatever it is, or if that's the main goal, don't make them hunt for the comments or don't make them hunt for the links in the comments.
I agree with you. I actually agree with you that if you want them, if the goal is to get them in a webinar, they're not going to come if they can't find the link.
Right. And especially on LinkedIn, where often, kind of the default view for the comments is like most relevant. It doesn't show all the comments. So sometimes it doesn't even show up in there. And like there have been times where like out of spite, I have not registered for a webinar because the link was buried in the comments. And I was like, I'm not doing this.
I love that. That's so funny. Okay. So moving on, I knew that was a good question to ask you. So I know you also ran an employee advocacy program, so I'd love to talk about that for a second as well. So how do all these content creation strategies that we've talked about translate when then you're creating content for your advocates?
Yeah, with advocacy programs, I don't think like it shouldn't be like employees are forced to do something. So it's like how do we get them to want to do it, and with that it's thinking about and looking at the data of how they've shared before, what kind of content they like to share. And so something that I've noticed is that employees get excited about sharing awards content or exciting news, big updates, or if they're customer facing, they're thinking about what's most relevant to their customer, kind of like we do, but they're so much closer to their customers and they're thinking about their specific accounts. And so really creating a variety of content that will resonate with different teams, each of their goals, but also content that like gets them excited about the company, I think is really important.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And I can't believe we're moving on to the last question already. To wrap up, I'd love to hear from you because, as you said, you've done it all. What's the best piece of social media advice you've ever received?
Yes, one of the best pieces of advice I've ever received was just remember that you are the social media expert, right? With social, people have a lot of opinions, people have a lot of thoughts. A lot of people think that just because they have a Facebook account or their kid has an Instagram account, that they're an expert too. And I think it's important for us as social media practitioners to keep an open mind, to be receptive to both positive and constructive feedback that can help you grow, and also keep an open mind for ideas that may come from unexpected places. But sometimes it can really wear on you when everyone has all these opinions about social. So it's really important to believe in yourself, to stand firm in your expertise. Remember that you were hired for this role for a reason. And so use that to, instill confidence in yourself. Look at your data, because your data will probably back it up that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're, not feeling confident, hit me up. I will be your personal hype woman. Like, I'll tell you that you're doing a good job, and I will tell you why you're doing a good job. Um, but yeah, it really comes from within, remembering that you are the expert.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And that's so sweet. So anybody, if you need to get hyped up, connect with Bunny on LinkedIn because she
Hit
definitely
me
will
up.
do. Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved having you for this episode and hearing all about your experience. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.